Episode 244, and today we're going to be talking about some standouts in last night's matchup between the Rangers and the Blue Jackets. And first, I want to talk about Adam Fantilli's hat trick. I think he has been playing great hockey down the final stretch of the season, and ever since Sean Monahan went down with an injury, I think he's really stepped up to the plate and he's really delivered, which is really awesome to see on Columbus's side in terms of them getting guys who are younger, productive, and having those guys be productive on a regular basis. And you look at guys like Dmitry Voronkov, you look at guys like Kirill Marchenko, and those trio are actually aligned. They have Voronkov and Marchenko on the wing with Fantilli as their first line. And I've been really impressed with how those three have been playing together. They seem to have great chemistry, and obviously they seem to really be working well off one another. And I think it's obvious to see how these guys, they continue to get better. Columbus continues to get better throughout the stretch and down the stretch. They ended up beating the Rangers after so originally the Blue Jackets they were up 3-1. Then the Rangers came back and they tied it at three with two quick goals and the game tying goals with Chris Kreider. And then they eventually came out, Columbus came out and scored four unanswered goals and they ended up winning 7-3. And just a all around very impressive effort from Columbus. And when you include Fantilli's hat trick, and then you get guys like Dante Fabro and Matthew Olivier and Voronkov and Werenski each having multi-point games, including Fantilli in that mix. He was the only guy to have 3 points in the game, all of which were goals. And they just got a lot of production throughout the lineup. Like Kirill Marchenko was obviously producing, and he's been a point per game player and one of the most underrated players in the league by far. And then you look at Sean Corrali, he was on the board. Boone Jenner was on the board. And Justin Danforth got a goal. I think Justin Danforth is a really nice add to their bottom six. He's really been a nice fit on their fourth line, and he can move up to the third line when need be, but usually he's more of a fourth line guy, and he's been noticeable there. And James Van Riemsdyk, like just a lot of guys, Ken Johnson, another guy, and a lot of guys who can score, a lot of guys who can finish, a lot of guys who can be involved offensively. I think that's really good to see and really noticeable to see. And I think it's good for Columbus to have that much scoring depth and have that many guys rolling yesterday, which is something that they're going to need for the final stretch of the season to solidify themselves as a playoff team. And I think for where they're at and with the guys coming back, including Sean Monahan eventually, I'd be curious to see how Monahan fits in the lineup, and it's still, I would say, 2, 3 weeks away from him coming back. But surely Columbus, in the meantime, it looks like they're gonna roll out with some more wins here, and they've been really exciting to watch. And then for New York side, and we could talk about Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. I think those two really linked up together nicely, and I was really impressed with how they were playing together. It's just instant chemistry with those two, and they've had it for many years, and both at 5-on-5 and on the power play. But Chris Kreider is just a scorer, and he had a goal in this game. Like I said before, it was the game tying goal, and he was just really noticeable. I really enjoyed watching his game and his performance last night. Just the skepticism around him and how he's been in and out of the lineup sometimes, and just the whole storyline with him, how he almost ended up getting traded and stuff. It's just I'm glad to see Chris Kreider still there, and I think he could still win with the Rangers. And I really think it's just more of a down year for the Rangers. I think they could be back next season. We'll see. But I just think that this is a much better team than the Rangers have showed, and I think they're honestly better than a wild card team. But it's going to be interesting to see how they perform the back half of the season as well. And from a team that was one of the top teams in the league last year, and they might fall out of the playoff run this year. So they're going to have to really buckle down and get some wins down the stretch. There's not as much pressure on Columbus, I would say. I honestly think there's more pressure on the Rangers to really get a playoff spot and really solidify themselves as a playoff team, which is weird to say because I never thought I'd be saying that last year. But and then Vincent Trocheck was very effective as an all-around player, playmaker, passer, scorer, competitively, and creating havoc around the net, being active around the net front. I think that's part of Vincent Trocheck's game. He can bring a physical element, but also bring a skill element, an above average element that is really needed for this Rangers team, and things brings veteran leadership as well, which is also really needed. And then Artemi Panarin was really good. I thought Lafreniere was noticeable as well. One guy I really liked throughout this game, and outside of Brett Berard, who I also liked, and former NCDP guy, and was Braden Schneider. Braden Schneider I thought was really good throughout this game. I think he has really continued to get better. It's been weird because there's been times where he's been playing the left side, which I thought was interesting. And just from a development standpoint, I think he's starting to catch stride a little bit. I think he's starting to get better over time. I would imagine over the course of his career, he's going to be more of a shutdown style defenseman who can rack up around 20, 25 points a year. And I think he'll be a good, really solid top four shutdown minded defenseman who can incorporate some offense into his game. It's not counting out his offense. It's just more a matter of he can be relied upon as a shutdown style player and to shut down elite level lines in terms of the opposition and stuff like that. I think Braden Schneider is really good, really underrated. And for a long time, I'm really curious to see how he continues to trend, how he continues to get better, and how he just continues to become a better player. It's going to be a really interesting situation to follow there. And I definitely think he's going to be a player to watch in the longer term. He's got a lot of skill, got a lot of upside, and he's going to be a player that's going to be very intriguing to watch on the Rangers blue line in the future, I would imagine.